Two guys and a mic. It's Jim Ryan and Mark Rizzo, and it is episode number 8 after a massive episode number 7. I mean, you can't say anything but massive.
Massive would be the key word. And it's one for the history books, is what I was told. One for the history books.
We can't thank Johnny Rzeznik of the Goo Goo Dolls enough for being our first musical guest. And we can't thank you for enough for signing up and becoming a subscriber, because that helps us bring more of this cool stuff to you, more artists, more creations and creativity, and that's what we're here for, content creators. So like, comment, but more importantly, subscribe. It is free. Please do that, and ring the notification bell so when we post new episodes, you will know when those go up. And we're going to plan more guests. We've got people on the hook, so to speak.
Well, they're lining up, Jim. They're actually lining up outside my door, because after last week's episode, they all want to be Johnny Rzeznik. So
now you might actually have a shot at Stormy Daniels.
Well, you know what? I think we're beyond Stormy. I think we're moving on into rock and roll royalty. And from some of the names you and I have been kicking around, those that watch us are going to be in for some nice, good surprises. But we don't want to spoil them every week with an artist. So sometimes we'll have to go through the boring banter of you and I to get to the one episode that'll have somebody they really like. But thank God you and I have got those contacts, those friends, those relationships. So every so often, it'll be something exciting and interesting for those that follow us, which is cool to hear an artist's not perception, but they think of the whole business and their personal experiences. And I think a lot of people really, really enjoyed the Rzeznik.
Stuff, for sure.
He spoke about, that he was thinking of being a plumber, but didn't want to go outside in Buffalo. And then he thought about being a school teacher. And just to recap, he said if all else failed, he would have been a bartender, because what better way to meet girls? And I thought that was important to write down.
And how close he was to actually giving up. He was on his 5th album when Name became the hit that it was, and he was looking for that sign to stick with it, and he got it, obviously. But he was pretty close to chucking it all away musically and going that history teacher or bartender route.
Yeah, but can you imagine in today's market going 5 albums without a real hit? That would never happen.
No, it wouldn't happen. And I mean, he even said in a recap, and I encourage you, if you haven't seen episode 7, to definitely watch it. But he said that, musicians and artists, if you can't make a living on the road, you can't make a living anymore. There's albums, with streaming, it just doesn't work the way it used to. So interesting guy. And I'm sure we'll have plenty more interesting guests coming in the future. Let's get into music bites. All right. I came up with a new term, a new segment for the show.
Music bites.
Our Two Guys and a Mic music bites. I found it interesting this week. I don't know if you saw the news that Justin Bieber and his wife are all ready for the kids' arrival. They're really telling everybody they're ready to be a parent. They can't wait. They think they're mature enough to do it. And they're very excited about it. And then, of course, the 3 a.m. feedings will come. And
well, I think they may have enough cash that they could have somebody do those 3 a.m. feedings.
Maybe.
In my world, it was me doing the 3 a.m. feedings along with Marianne taking turns. And those are never fun. Plus, how many dirty diapers do you think he'll be changing?
Probably not many. Although he should learn.
I'm sure he will. He sounds like
there'll be that time.
From stuff I've read, I mean, I know there's all kinds of crazy stuff about them, but at times I think he kind of straightened out his act, and I think perhaps he will make a good father if hopefully the marriage and all the pressure that they're under in the press and the nonsense, if they can do it, it'd be nice. That would be a nice thing.
So did you see also that Weezer has now canceled their planned release of a box set because of poor projected sales? They've already projected ahead. Weezer fans won't be enough. It was going to be a collection of all those season-themed albums that they recently did over the last couple of years. And now they're saying, no, they're just going to put it out. But, the band also canceled some of their last big tour because of the very same reason, poor ticket sales.
Well, I think we heard that from a couple of artists. Wasn't that part of the J-Lo experience, that there were poor ticket sales and some bad stuff? I mean, again, going back to what Johnny said, you have to be able to go on the road and make a living. And I guess that's harder and harder these days, but it depends on the performer. It depends on the catalog. It depends, I guess, the market that they're playing. But it takes a lot to do anything these days. Put a record out, have an album, even go on tour, because I believe people are selective about where they're spending their money. I mean,
It
I
all
thought J-Lo would do well. I thought people would want to see that performance, but what do
it
I
also
know?
depends on if how you package the tour. I believe if it's going to be more than one artist, who are you out there with?
That's true.
Taylor can do her own thing because she's Taylor. She doesn't even need an opener. Ed Sheeran, J Lo, I guess you would think she's popular enough to do that. But even Train or the Goo Goo Dolls or many other artists who have plenty of hits, they still need to take out somebody interesting to hook the people to spend that money.
Well, it's interesting. I saw an article today. Well, somebody, it wasn't an article, somebody posted that he didn't understand why people were paying high ticket prices to see Foreigner when yet nobody from Foreigner's original lineup is in the Foreigner band that's playing right now. They said that Mick Jones comes out and he'll wave from the side, but he's not out there anymore. And basically, they said it was a high priced karaoke band.
But aren't they teamed up? Who are they out there with? Journey and Def Leppard?
Yeah, Journey, Def Leppard, Foreigner. And I've had a couple of people who have gone to the shows and they've enjoyed it. So,
Well, Def Leppard is a hook for anyone. There's still, I think it's all original members. And Journey is pretty much the original guys except for the lead singer, obviously.
right.
So there is
Mm,
a hook still to that in a Foreigner, I don't think could carry off those because they're playing stadiums, so they
yeah.
can't do that by themselves anymore.
So you need
Even
like
all
two or
the
three
hits
other
they had.
acts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to
Well,
go out with a couple. I also found very interesting this week was that Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus have fully admitted that they were real life frenemies back when they were working for Disney.
hmm.
When Miley was doing Hannah Montana and Selena was doing Wizards of Waverly Place, they really didn't like each other. They sniped at each other, but now they're besties. Just so
But you
you
give
know.
them credit. I mean, they both really have gone on to big careers. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
Miley is phenomenal. And she's in that other TV show that streams, which is big, and Selena, I
Selena
should say.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So
great show too. I can't wait for the new episodes. I believe that's sometime this month they're going to start Only Murders in the Building, the new season.
that gets great reviews. But as you and I have talked about, I'm not a big streaming series guy. But since we brought that up in whatever episode we spoke about, I did get into The Bear. So we're at least catching up, and that's an interesting show.
Well, I'll give you the hook for you to watch Only Murders in the Building. When we went to Normandy and we
Right.
went to Paris, one of the guys on the trip was my cousin Chris, who is the stunt coordinator for Only Murders in the Building.
Oh,
All the
cool.
stunts in that show, he coordinates.
That's that's a great job. I
Yeah,
mean, do they have a lot of stunts going on in that show?
they do more than you would think. I mean, anything they do when they're running, they get into a car, they elevator, something in the elevator, or someone gets stabbed in the, inside one of the apartments. Yeah, there's more stunts than you would think.
Interesting. That's a great job. Maybe we'll have
Yeah.
him on. It has nothing to do with music. We'll just ask what the hell you do because it's a great job.
He wanted to get into that since he was a kid. Remember that show, The Fall Guy?
Sure, with Lee Majors.
Yeah, that was all about stunt work, and he was hooked.
If someone's offering you $500, Lee Majors, is he dead or alive?
You know what?
You don't know.
I'm going to say
Well,
alive.
well, I don't have the answer, so I can't give you the 500
I mean,
bucks,
you
but
can
it's
Google it in two
well, not
seconds.
live. I mean, we're recording for God's sakes. But he had a pretty major career, pardon the
Oh, he
pun.
had a massive career. Yeah. No. The
Interesting.
other thing I wanted to bring up musically was something that you turned me on to this week, which I found pretty amazing when you told me that a major record label, we'll say it, Columbia, had a major star put out a new song, Halsey, and then they told you, you know what? We don't think this is going to do anything. We're not going to bother going after it.
Well, they didn't say it in those exact words, but you got the feeling that this was out there. They're putting it out there, but they were pretty diplomatic about how they approached it. And I think with the metrics these days and the research and all of that, I guess before they invest big money, they put it out there, but maybe they've got something better. But it makes you wonder, why would you bother putting the first one out if you had something better? But I'm not privy to all of that. I just got the explanation that it's out there, but you know, it's not really going to be a major push at this point. So we'll see.
Do you think though that
Interesting.
wouldn't have happened maybe even 3 to 5 years ago? An artist like Halsey stature, they put it out, they're going for it, right? This is the song the artist wants out,
Exactly.
or they're going to get radio and try to promote radio to play it, and now everything becomes, I guess it's less resources,
I don't
less
know.
money to
I mean,
spend.
but as you said back in the day, if you put something out and it didn't do well, the answer was, oh, we're hearing from radio that this is the song they want to play, and then you would quickly shift
Right,
over to the next single that
right.
would be orchestrated. You'd have something starting in the background, and oh, by popular demand, we're gonna shift over to this one now. But I guess that will be their plan eventually. I'm sure there's something up their sleeve because you don't sign an artist like Halsey without having a bigger picture plan, and I'm sure it'll be successful because I mean, some people told me there was pushback on the video. I saw the video. I didn't really see what people were concerned about on that. But haters are gonna hate, is what they say. So maybe there's some issues I'm unaware of.
Yeah, but it comes down to every artist wants to put out, songs, whatever inspires them to do the songs that they do. Some have a real strong opinion on what song they want to put out in front of the public first. Sometimes it's the record label that chooses it. Sometimes record labels have told the artist, hey, you've got nothing here. You've got to come back. There's no hits here. I mean, that happened to Pat Monahan with Train
Mm.
before Drops of Jupiter came out. And Pat tells that story all the time. I mean, he literally wrote that song like the night before he went in to see the label about, turning the album in, and
Wow.
that what ended up being the hit. But um, you ask an artist, do you know if something's going to be a hit? I think I even asked Johnny that last week. Did you have any inkling? And he kind of hemmed around it because, you don't. But I think nowadays they're more cautious about anything. Sometimes you hear songs that are good songs, but they're just not a radio hit. As a programmer, that's what I'm looking for is this going to be a radio hit? Is this going to connect with my audience? Is this a song that, the diehard fans are going to love whatever the artist puts out? If they're a diehard Halsey fan, it doesn't matter. They're going to eat it up. But is it going to be a massive appeal? Is it going to be a hit? Sometimes you can kind of hear it. Other times you think you might hear it or it'll grow on you. But that's how I always approached it as a programmer. And I know you as, coming from the record side, okay, I got to work this. What hook can I get to, have Jim and other guys seriously take a look at this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a science to everything. I mean, you obviously want to promote something that you know is going to be a hit that you feel good about. But as I always joked, you work the good, the bad, and the ugly because it's your job, and
Right.
you do the best you can. And not everything's going to be a smash. And you're going to have guys that we spoke about in other episodes that say, "I'm never playing this record ever, ever, ever." And
Yeah.
sometimes they change their mind, sometimes they don't. But now there's a more of a business side to the record business than ever before. And if they've got the metrics and the research. I mean, Johnny mentioned about, before he plays South Africa, he'll pull up the streams in South Africa and see what streams the most.
Yeah.
So I mean, now you have research that we would never have back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. It's
No,
incredible.
that's smart because I know they can also see exactly, I think I mentioned it as you to you when we, off the air, so to speak, that artists can now see, let's just say for our argument's sake, Rick Springfield goes out and he can see that he's got massive support in the Denver area, but maybe not so much in, Atlanta. I'm just picking two cities. I don't know that either one for a fact, but he could say, you know what, let me do 2 or 3 nights in Denver and we'll just bypass Atlanta this time,
Yeah.
because he knows he can sell out 3 shows in Atlanta. I mean, in Denver, but not Atlanta.
Yeah, but
So
it may also have to do with the routing and they have to pay the money along the
true.
way to keep the tour going. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, maybe you have to play Atlanta in order to get to Jersey or something. But yeah, I think more and more research goes into exactly what they're doing, what's being played, who's downloading it. It's science now. It's
Yeah.
mathematics, something I didn't take up in math in
And,
school.
and logistics, because you remember after COVID, when everybody was itching to get back on the road. Not many of these artists own all the equipment that they take on the road with them. They rent it. And
Sure.
there's only so many outfits that rent that kind of stuff. They're not like in every city do you have massive amounts of touring equipment and tour buses and stuff. And there were some artists that there was, I remember talking to a couple who was like, we can't go out because everything's taken. I can't get a tour bus.
Wow.
to go around. So everybody wanted to get back out on the road. So there was all this pent up. Now it seems to be evening out and they can space it out more. But remember, right after, basically a couple of years of being completely locked down, now all of a sudden everything opens up. Now everybody wants out on the road. And it became a little tough for some to get out there, and fans didn't really get the answer like, why aren't they going on the road? They should be out on the road. But logistically, they just couldn't make it happen.
You know
So,
what? I'm gonna just change this to something different to get your opinion of this because I did mention it to you when I was lucky enough to be at the Billy Joel show last week for the final
yeah.
performance at Madison Square Garden. It was a star-studded night. I guess there were a lot of people in the audience that I found out afterwards, but President Clinton was there, and he
Ah,
was sitting in the first three rows that I understand that the Dolan family just keeps for VIPs. So he was sitting there next to John Sykes, and
how many
I
how
didn't.
many Secret Service guys did you notice?
Well, that's the question. I kept staring to see the guys in black suits or talking up their sleeves, and I really couldn't spot them, but obviously they probably were there. But at one
Maybe
point,
the roof was slanted. They couldn't do it.
interesting, funny. But that being said, at one point, my friend was panning the audience to show how many people were screaming and yelling, had the phone lights on, and somebody came over and said, "If you pan again, we'll throw you right out of here," because they were going to videotape President Clinton. I mean,
Oh,
but do you have rights? Can you do that? I mean, can you throw somebody out? I mean, if you're in public, do you have the right to be
well, you're not
photographed?
technically, you're not. I don't know if you're considered technically in public. You're inside a building that somebody else owns, and they can make the rules as to what goes on inside. It's not like he was out on the street.
I don't know.
Is
I
it is
mean,
that really public? I mean, yeah, you're surrounded by 18,000 fans, but it is in a venue that somebody else owns, so they can make the rules on being in that building.
yeah, well, they were pretty aggressive about it, so we made sure
Yeah.
we weren't even looking in his direction. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
And maybe that was Secret Service people coming after you.
No, this guy was a Madison Square Garden guy
Well, they
coming,
probably got ordered by, if
Yeah.
you notice
But
people.
that's the first time I've ever, well, I guess the only concert I've ever been at that I guess an ex-president was at, but I thought that was pretty well.
The
And
bigger
then
question is how
everybody
did
was getting yelled at. Yeah, there were like three or four people. I got yelled at too. I got yelled at. It was pretty funny.
the bigger question is how did Axl Rose sound?
You know what? Well, that was the surprise guest. That's who Billy brought out to do three songs, and he sounded okay. And from what I remember, the early pictures of his face, because I believe he had some face work done a couple of years ago, it looked like it had calmed down. And he he looked more like Axl Rose because in the beginning he looked almost like like a mannequin. But he pulled it off. I would never think there'd be a combination of those two, but it was all right.
And by the way, Bill,
Excuse
that
me.
doesn't mean Billy's done touring. I think he's going to be
No,
playing shows in other places. He may even play the Garden again, but this
that's
month
what he
long,
said.
this residency with a couple shows every month, that has come to an end. An amazing achievement of 150 sold out shows. I mean, and you're doing basically one a month, maybe two. So that's many years of doing that. That's
Yeah, I think it
amazing.
was like 10 years or something. It was pretty
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, he spoke about it. And I think in other interviews, he mentioned that while he was doing a residency there, he wouldn't be able to play like City Field or Yankee
Right.
Stadium, or it's not called Giant Stadium anymore. I forget what it's called, but I think that those are his plans to want to play those again.
It's called MetLife Stadium.
MetLife Stadium. Okay. Well, I'm sure somewhere in the line, maybe next year, you'll see him playing there, but he
My
likes playing
guess
baseball stadiums.
My guess is that because he got the Dolans to let him out of this thing. I think they're since they own the Sphere in Vegas, I
That
wouldn't
would
be
be awesome.
surprised if he does something there.
Yeah, I mean he's got a tour date in Las Vegas, but it's not the Sphere. But the Sphere would be awesome. How
Yeah,
about a little residency there?
they'll probably get him to do a little residency there at some point. It's two guys and a mic, Jim Ryan, Mark Rizzo. It is our podcast about music, radio, the label business. We're bringing special guests in. We had a great one last week with Johnny Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell, do all that stuff to get notified. And we really appreciate you subscribing and commenting. Got the comments on. We got a lot of great comments about Johnny, a lot of fans. So that was great to see. I think Rick Cooper, who we both know is a record guy like you, said that watching that episode yesterday, well, he watched it yesterday and it was the best part of his day. So we made Coop's day. You
Well,
know,
there you go. There's something to hang our hat on. And I am wearing a hat in honor of Johnny, who put a hat on
yeah.
after I complimented his hair.
All right, let's move into our top five segment. All right. Now, I gave you the task of top five guilty pleasures. Um,
Top
hopefully
five
you,
guilty pleasures or comfort songs? I forgot what you sent me.
it was guilty pleasure songs.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
And
I'll
maybe
go
you
right
want
off
to
the
make
top of
it
my head.
comfort. I don't care. It's whatever your top five are. Hit me with your number one. First one on the list.
Who doesn't like John Denver Country Road? That's always a sing-along
Yeah.
song. Everybody likes
Okay.
that. Take Me Home, Country Roads. I mean, I could go into like a million of them. You could say YMCA. How about that? I'm giving you two right there.
So you did two off your list. All right. I'll
It's
give.
fun to stay at the YMCA. Remember that, Jim.
You spell it out. Do you do the whole? Come on, do it. Why? First two on my list. All right. Paper Lace. The night Chicago died.
Whoa, there you go.
Remember that
That's a
song?
good one. Sure.
I
That's a
had, I
fun
owned
one.
the 45. I used to sing that.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. And the next one is more recent. I don't know. I've never been, I mean, I've been a fan of the guy at sometimes. I think he's very talented, but not overall is he my cup of tea. But it's a guilty pleasure. I love this Houdini song by Eminem
Wow, look at
with
you.
the cover, with not the cover, but the sampling of Abracadabra by the Steve Miller Band.
Exactly.
I love when he goes, Abracadabra, I'm about to go in my bag, bro. Or dig in my bag. It's a cool song. It really is. And when it comes on, I turn it on really loud. And I think he did a great job. Great record for him.
Well, I'm going to combine two of them for a group that probably, I don't even think they're alive anymore. I think one of them is, but I'll go with Seals and Crofts, Summer Breeze, and We May Never Pass This Way Again. Both of those I love. I never get tired of hearing it. I don't think it gets played as much as it should, but you got to go to certain select Sirius channels to hear them. But I like both of those, and I never get bored of hearing them.
And you know what? They were on my list too, but for a completely different song.
You mean for a completely different reason? Songs you didn't like, you mean?
No, no, no.
Oh,
One
okay.
of their songs is my guilty pleasure. Seals and Crofts, Get Closer.
Oh, okay. You can put that in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that one.
Let's
I'll give you one more that I liked. And oh, this thing could come on all the time. Now, Bill Withers.
Ain't No
Lovely
Sunshine.
Day. No, Lovely
Oh,
Day.
okay.
Lovely
Nice.
Day.
Okay. I actually just had one in my head and I just forgot what the heck it was. But I said Seals and Crofts, We Will Never Pass This Way Again. And oh, America, Sister Golden Hair. I could hear that
That's
forever.
that's a good one. I
I
thought
guess
you were
I'm a
going to tell me
child
the
of the
Partridge
70s, man.
Family.
Well, we'll get to my David Cassidy stories another day, but no.
All right,
Sister Golden Hair. I could hear that 100 times, never get tired of it.
I got two left for you, and now this other one's a pretty recent song too. I don't consider myself a Swiftie, but I love that song. You need to calm down. I think that
Appropriate.
was really very catchy, and I like it. I turn that up really loud too when it comes on. And my final one, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this group correctly, if it even was a group or was it just a female with some backing, musicians. Uh, Mocha Days or Eris 2. Remember the song
Oh
Eris
God,
2?
Eris
Yeah.
too. Yeah, look at you going
Eris
back to the
2.
'70s like me with
Eris
Seals and
2.
Crows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like you
That
like that,
song.
huh?
And you remember that movie? It was with David Spade and Chris Farley, and it was Tommy Boy.
Oh, that
You
was a
ever
funny
see
movie.
Tommy Boy?
Yeah,
Yeah, so they're driving and they're arguing about what's on the radio, and then Eris 2 comes on and they're both singing it and
that's
crying.
funny.
That's so
That's
good.
great. Yeah, that's
That's
great.
so classic. All right, do you have one more to
I'm gonna
wrap
tell
up
you.
this top five segment?
I mean, a song I worked, a song that you can't get off the radio. It's still number one on the AC chart. I'm gonna go with "Flowers" by Miley Cyrus. As soon as I heard that, I knew it was a smash. I never get tired of hearing it. Plus, I like the video.
So does that really qualify though as a guilty pleasure?
I could hear that all the time. I like it. Okay, if it's not guilty pleasure, then it's not. Guilty pleasure was what, like something that you really
Oh, you know
enjoy that
what?
you're kind of embarrassed
Maybe
of,
a lot of
like
maybe a
kung
lot
fu
of
fighting
people
or something.
Kung Fu Fighting. There you go, Carl
How about
Douglas,
Me and You and a Dog Named Boo? You never get tired of that.
Lobo.
There you go.
Keep it
That's
going.
always fun songs.
Yeah. I used to love listening to Dan Ingram because we both grew up in the New York area, and Dan Ingram was probably one of the greatest top 40 DJs ever. And he worked on 77 WABC when it was a top 40 station. This is before PLJ went top 40 and even Z100 came into the city. And so Dan was, and then he worked at CBS FM. But if you've never seen his work, there is videos all over the internet on
Yeah,
YouTube.
exciting radio. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of the guys that made me want to get into the,
He made it
this
look fun.
business.
Sure, it was exciting. And
Big time.
here, I'm going to throw about three of these at you. How about Knock Three Times by Tony Orlando and Dawn?
Okay.
That's a good one.
Yep.
I mean, like you could go through a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's tons and tons of fun songs that you don't want your friends to let you know that you have them on, but yeah. Knock Three
You
Times.
can comment in our comment section about your favorites, guilty pleasure songs, and maybe in the next episode we'll read back some. So make sure you tell us who you are, where you live, and then make your comment on our top 5 this week on the guilty pleasures. And maybe we'll share some of those next week. You know what we should probably do?
Wait, I got one more that just in honor of Arista Records. How about Bay City Rollers Saturday Night? SATUR.
There you go.
There you go, huh? There's a sing along.
Yeah. Maybe we should come up with the top 5. I'm going to put you on the spot at the end, and we'll do the top 5 so we can get some comments that we can share next week.
And no cursing in the comments, please. It's a kid's show. We got to keep it clean.
No, it's not a kid's show. You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
And we don't have to. We're not worried about that. By the way, we have a Facebook page. We have a Two Guys and a Mic Facebook page. So, and I thank my granddaughter Riley for putting that together. She's going to be our social media genius. We've named her the vice president of social media. I mean, we give out titles here like, we drink water, which, by the way, I need some out of my Yeti. You have a Yeti? You need one of these if you don't have it.
Maybe that'll be a sponsor of ours.
Maybe, but
now
these
that
are
we're
so
growing
cool.
at such a high pace, who knows what's in store for us.
I put ice in it in the morning. Still got ice late in the afternoon.
Nice. Nice on the ice.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Top 5, we're done for this week, right? We'll come up with another one.
Yeah, but you talked about the Facebook. I think we're going to be expanding to Instagram, Twitter. We're going to try to get on other platforms because this is quality stuff that we're really putting out there that the world really needs to pay attention to, especially if we get some of the people we're talking about getting. It's going to go sky high.
And if you get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, you've already promised a car. So we got to do something. I
think we're at 120. At that rate, I'll be 74 and you'll be 71.
Oh, maybe. Hey, have you been watching the Olympics?
Yeah, we saw the gymnastics yesterday, and that's another thing. Can I ask you, as they say in Brooklyn?
Sure.
Do you see a difference with all these different gymnasts? I think they're all doing the same routine. They're all on the balance bar. They're all doing. I don't see.
There's slight differences.
Very hard to see it.
Well, we don't do gymnastics for a living, but those that judge this, there's difficulty in different moves. So even though a lot of the stuff is the same, if they throw an extra twist or a turn in there.
Amazing that they're doing
it on
a small little piece of wood. I have a hard time getting up out of bed, and these girls are spinning on their heads.
Not just the girls, the guys are pretty good on the equipment too.
Yep.
What I find, I was so happy to see, the women win after what happened with Simone Biles in Turkey, not in Turkey, it was in Tokyo the last time.
Yeah.
And I was very happy to see, which didn't get shown live, or at least I only saw it on replay, was the women's rugby team for America.
I saw
broke out and they beat Australia. Now that's a big deal because Australia plays rugby like you wouldn't believe. And they ended up taking the bronze medal. I think this girl ran for like 80 yards and scored the final. Yeah, it was amazing.
I don't quite get the rules of that, but it's kind of like football, but it's not.
But you can't pass it forward. You can pass it behind you.
And then you just have to.
You can kick it forward. Okay.
And then
you can,
if it bounces, you can pick it up and run.
Yeah.
Or you have to catch it on the fly.
No, you can pick it up and run if it bounces. But if you're going to pass it off to someone, the pass has got to go behind you.
And these people have no equipment on either, which is amazing.
No. It's very rough.
Wow.
It's rough. It's rough and tumble.
I'll have to pay more attention to it. It's interesting.
Yeah, but it's always been a big sport. Well, England has played it, and Australia, a lot of places have played it. There's my cousin Chris, we were talking about earlier. His father was in the New York Rugby Club for years. So there was a lot of rugby played. And in fact, this is he told us a story. Actually, he told Chris and I a story once when we were on this boat going around Manhattan for somebody's 16th birthday or one of my cousin's birthday or something. He was on there. He goes, they there was a rugby party one year. Now, if you know anything about rugby or lacrosse, these guys like to drink. They'll beat each other up on the field, but then they go drink and they drink a lot. And they actually had to have the New York Harbor Police pull the boat over because these guys were throwing each other and chairs overboard into the East River.
Just another party.
Just another party in New York. Yeah,
Wow,
many years ago. So
that's funny.
they
Those are
even
real
tore
men.
up some of the chairs that were bolted down. What's that?
Those are real men.
Yeah, yeah,
Grown
yeah.
guys
That's
playing
a
tough
tough
stuff.
sport.
Yeah.
But interesting to see the Olympics, and we wish Team USA, it's still a week and a half left in this thing. So the swimming has been amazing. I actually saw some of the surfing, which they're doing 10,000 miles away in
Right. And
Tahiti.
Tahiti. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You saw the one picture of the guy up in the air and a surfboard
Yeah,
next
yeah,
to him.
yeah.
Amazing. Looked like he was flying.
And everybody's there was a big, I mean, the guy hosting it, Mike Tirico, has made a
Right.
there was a big competition to see which person would get to host the Tahiti segment, and it's Colin Jost from Saturday Night
I
Live.
saw, yeah,
Colin's
yeah.
got the gig,
That's pretty
so
funny.
that was pretty funny.
Now,
Interesting.
is there an Olympic event for sitting on the couch and clicking channels? Because I could probably master that. I think I
I
have
don't
mastered
know,
that.
but I
I've
did
mastered
hear
it.
I think it was my stepson who was telling me they're considering adding esports to Olympics.
Well, let
It's
me
like,
tell you,
seriously?
when
Video
when
games? That's
when
not sports.
when my son was in college, it was just starting, and they have huge, huge events where they play these championships that people pay to go sit in the stadium and watch these kids play. But now I understand there could be scholarships that colleges are giving for esports, which is
Unbelievable.
unbelievable. And he was born a little too early or late for that, but I believe it's a thing and it's a big thing, and they get big audiences, and it's big, big business.
That's amazing. To
Yeah.
me, that's just I can't fathom that. That's not really
It's over our
participating in
heads, man.
athletics, but
Exactly. It's playing, when we grew up, we had Pong and in television. Beep, beep, beep. Now,
used to think Space Invaders was high-tech
beep, beep, beep,
graphics.
beep, 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 beep. Yeah, it's fun. Oh, Pac-Man. Now the gold medal for Pac-Man goes to Jim
Yeah,
Ryan.
yeah.
That's
Well, they
funny.
made breakdancing an Olympic sport this year.
Yeah, and skateboarding too, no?
Well, skateboarding's been in there for a while,
Uh-huh.
but breakdancing was interesting because did you ever break dance?
No,
No.
there'll be no breakdancing.
I would break something if I did that. That's what would happen. That's
That's
exactly what would happen.
I'm not spinning on my head, okay? I'm sorry.
Oh boy. Oh, warts and all. It's two guys and a mic. Comment, like, subscribe. Appreciate it very much. So I wanted to ask you, getting back to some music and radio stuff, what would you say in your career was the one or two songs that you couldn't believe you were being asked to work and you knew it was going to be a struggle from the get-go?
Well, I have to give credit to Roy Lott at Arista because they were all about Sarah McLachlan. And I heard Sarah McLachlan and I said, I don't know how I can get this played. And the first couple of records, I wanted to cry because AC at that time, there was no hot AC. It was just AC radio, and they did not get Sarah McLachlan. And then, boom, look what happened to her career. So he saw something that radio did not see or hear. And we struggled through a couple of singles, albums, projects. But when she took off big. But
Well, you know where she broke through was pop alternative radio because I was at Y100 in Philadelphia, and that we started playing her. Um, and then that whole, Lilith Fair type thing. Then
yep,
next thing
took
you knew,
off.
you had Jewel and you had Joan Osborne and you had this one and that one. And, that became a big tour for a couple of years. Lilith Fair was
It was
monstrous.
amazing. But I think we were ahead of the curve back then when we put that out, and they just weren't ready for it. But if there was a hot AC format, I think it might have accepted it easier. But it was the development of radio at that point, for adult radio. But first time I heard it, and Sadly, my memory is not as great as it used to be. I don't remember, but there were a couple that were really difficult to start out on, but then they became hits eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
One
you know
other
what?
thing.
I'll talk about a record that I worked at Columbia by Tal Bachman. She's
Oh,
So High. We worked it and we worked it and we worked it. I don't remember how well it did, but now it's everywhere. So what it take 20 years to become something? It's in commercials
well,
now. I
sometimes,
see it everywhere.
sometimes that happens. You go back and I've noticed that radio in some places, I'm now doing weekends and swing at WINKWAVV here in Fort Myers, down by me. And there's some songs that I know back in the day, they mid chart, maybe they got
Yep.
to top 20 if that, but now they just test. You know what? You put a music test out. If you're not familiar with this, radio stations or companies will gather listeners and do a screener, and usually they offer up money for you to go in and listen to so many song hooks and then rate those song hooks. And the radio stations end up getting a number, and a lot of times they go by the numbers and the favorability and burn scores and all this other. Well, I don't want to, it's not nonsense, but sometimes it's treated like it's a Bible instead of just a tool. But that's sort of another discussion. But they'll so that's how they determine songs that are going to make their playlist if they get that kind of research. And sometimes you'll have songs like that that really maybe were mid charters, but for whatever reason
It survived. It
they
survived and did well.
survive. And then you'll have songs that are hit number one on the chart, but nobody wants to hear anymore. Either they've heard it way, way, way too much, or they just, for whatever reason, didn't stand the test of time. Because, before all these songs, you know, were encoded because you had digital detection now with BDS and, media base, everything used to be done on paper.
Yeah.
Everything used to be reported on paper. You started when it was reported on paper. Some station would tell you, hey, we're playing this song 17
There was no way
times.
to know.
They maybe didn't play it 3 times, or maybe they didn't play it at all. There were so-called paper ads that people would say they're playing, but it never played.
Amazing.
So charts have been manipulated from the start of time.
No, come on. What are you
No, come
talking
on. I'm not
about?
letting the secrets out. Charts have
I
been
don't know anything about
manipulated.
that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, you don't know
Well, they
anything about
still
that.
are because there
Yeah, they
are,
are.
I mean, they base charts on the amount of spins. And if you can
Right, but
get
it's
stations that
harder.
can,
It's
play
harder
something,
now
well, yeah, everything's a little harder now, but
because the airplay is detected. So you can't say I can't if I run a radio station A, I can't call um, you know, radio and records, which isn't around anymore, but I can't call in and say, "Oh, I played this song. Yeah, I'm playing it 18 times," and
it's
not
in
play it.
heavy rotation.
Right. So
Now
you
they
can't
know.
get away with that.
Yeah, but
So,
is it fair that it's based on spins? So a spin 5 times from midnight to 6 a.m. in Jackson, Mississippi counts as much as 5 spins during the day in Minneapolis.
well, it's on market size. Yeah, I
But a
mean they
spin
have
is
to
a
weight
spin on
it.
the chart.
They have to weigh it.
All spins are equal, my friend.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I would argue more that it shouldn't count as much if you're playing something in the middle of the night as if it's in the day. Let's face it, the audience isn't there as much in the middle of the night. Not that there's no audience, but unless you're in a market like New York or Chicago or something top 10, there's a lot of markets that are not there's not much going on after the hour of midnight, you
I
know.
mean, well, it's
So,
true.
but interesting to note that with the charts and stuff and how they were manipulated over the years, how this all comes to pass, so to
Well,
speak.
I remember you said earlier that radio would pay people for research for,
Yeah. Yes.
I once heard that you could pay radio to get a song played. I just heard that back in the
Allegedly.
I don't know nothing about it, but I heard
Allegedly.
allegedly some of that went on back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Allegedly, there was some cash trading hands.
Now you can't even take a radio programmer to a ball game without signing 5 pieces of paper. Now, for what I do as a contracted independent representing all these record labels, with the exception of getting fingerprinted, you go through unbelievable paperwork and you have to agree to everything. So you're afraid to say anything or do anything because then you lose the account. And I understand what they're all about, but it's really, really difficult, and it's something you got to watch everything you say or do, and you know, don't get involved with anything that somebody could ask you. Not that they
Oh,
do, because I think everybody is on call. They really know that you can't do much.
years ago, I don't know how many years exactly, but it wasn't that many years ago when the Attorney General of New York, Elliot Spitzer, got into um, that whole game about the
Right,
pay
payday.
for play thing, which obviously is against the law, but people have found creative ways to try and get around. They don't technically violate the law, but they violate all spirits of that law. You know,
Hmm.
you know it, I know it, it happens.
Well, I heard stories. I heard back before I was doing it. I heard a program director once asked a record company to blacktop his driveway. I thought that was pretty funny. And I
Yeah.
guess people did it. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand how, and that's before BDS and sound scan. So you don't even know if the guy played the record, and he's
Well, they
getting his.
called it trade all the time. I remember being on the air doing mornings, and there was trade that could be used. The radio station might not have paid you, you know, peanuts. Basically, you were getting paid, but you know what? We can give you a card, and here you can fill up your gas tank for a month, or because Texaco down the street was advertising with
Oh
them.
yeah, well that's fair.
So
But I'm talking about
you know,
a promotion guy in
oh
order to get a record played, arranged for this
yeah.
program director to get his driveway
Well,
blacktopped.
you heard Rick Stone a few weeks ago say you
With the
had to
bar
get the
mitzvah.
guy to bar mitzvah, play a bar mitzvah to get
You'd
it.
never get
So
away with any of that now.
no,
Everybody would be
no.
thrown out. That's
One
funny.
day, we should ask everybody that we ever have on as guests that comes from the radio or label world. We should ask them that standard question. So, what did you have to do, or what did you do in order to, get a record played, or what did you ask for in order to play it?
Well, it's funny because you did ask Johnny about his radio promotion. What was, I think, the worst promotion he was ever involved with? And but
Yeah.
he said he did the barbecue for the chicken wings and stuff. But that was not, I guess, the worst promotion. I think he
No, there
mentioned
was
some
one where he said it was a little creepy, and they backed
right
out of
for
that.
a
Yeah.
wedding or something. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
it's funny. But speaking as we said about Johnny, about every kid either grows up wanting to be a baseball player or a rock star. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Johnny Resnick's a rock star and
Yeah.
pretty cool.
He's
Not
a
a
rock
bad gig.
star. Johnny Rzeznik of the Goo Goo Dolls, our special guest last episode, episode 7. This is episode 8. Two guys and a mic. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell. Comment section is on. So here, Mark, off the top of your head, what could be our top 5 for next week? I'm waiting to hear what you think we should do for the top 5.
Top 5. Well, we're not sure we have a guest next week, so that might
No, but
change
we're still going to
something.
have a top 5.
Okay, top 5. Let's see. Top 5 songs. Well, see, it would relate to me, but not you. Like top 5 songs I wish I was a part of that I worked. That would be cool for me. But I don't
No,
know
we
how
need
we can
something
relate it
because
to
we're going
you.
to look to get comments from people and then include
Okay.
them in the show.
Um, well, we spoke with Johnny about artists he'd go see. That was what
How
his
about
answer
top
was.
5 favorite concerts that you've seen?
Yeah, okay. So we could relate it to that.
Yeah, top 5
Top.
favorite concerts that you've seen.
And people are going to say
And,
the Stones, of course, which is awesome.
well,
Somebody may comment they saw the Beatles.
good.
Springsteen will be up there. Taylor Swift, of course.
Hey, you
But
might have said, you might say Weezer, or you might say,
say
here's a
Weezer,
band.
although their box set's not going out now. We know that. So
Here's a band you probably never even heard of, but they might say Husker Du.
I don't
So,
know them.
no,
Sorry.
you don't know. You don't know that stuff.
I might put Milli
They never
Vanilli
had a
down.
top 40 hit, but they were a great band.
I said Milli Vanilli.
Oh, God.
That's my throwback to Arista once again. My salute.
All right.
Funny.
Top 5 favorite shows you've seen. You can let us start knowing in the comments. We have a Facebook page, which I believe populates to Instagram, but I'll double check with our vice president of social media.
Exactly. We have a lot of people working. This is becoming bigger than you and I ever envisioned.
Right.
And wait till we tell them who we've got lined up. Less than a year ago, Mick Jagger lived not far from where I am right now. If we had this going, I could have taken the live Zoom. I would have knocked right on the door. What could
Yeah.
he say? No,
That'd be the worst he could say.
it would have been great. But now he
So.
sold the house. But what are you going to do?
Did he ever show up at the house? Do you
There
know?
were sightings of him once or twice in the area because it was a gated community, and he had bought the house for his girlfriend's family or his girlfriend's mom or dad, and I think he was there. I mean, the house was gorgeous from the pictures I had seen, but there were sightings of him. But he has now left town, and this might be hard to figure. He made a profit on the house, so
You think?
that's why he's a billionaire.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so top five concert moments that you've had. Feel free to say those in the comment section. We'll try to get to some of those for next week's episode. It's Two Guys and a Mic. Please like, subscribe. That really goes a long way in helping us, and it's free. Bring more great content to you, including more great guests that we can get in here. And
I think
keep
we're up
this
to
thing
about
going.
6 we're trying to get, so it's going to be interesting.
Oh, at least. There's more.
It's going to be great.
There's
And,
some that are out touring right now. They want to do it, but it's just too busy on the road. But we'll get to them in September or October.
it's basically
for sure.
because of the prizes we give them when they leave.
Yes,
And,
the goodie
and we do
bags.
pay cash up front, so that's important too.
We have swag bags.
But speaking of Jagger, I don't know if you saw the clip. He was at the Olympics and he was surrounded by all these kids who were all on their phones, and nobody recognized that they were sitting next to Mick Jagger. It's a
Really?
great photo. It's a great shot. If I could show it on the phone, I would, but it's pretty funny. So if you get the chance to Google whenever you get a chance, Mick Jagger at the Olympics, you'll see him in the stands surrounded by, a bunch of kids, and they're all on their phone. They don't realize a rock and roll legend is sitting right next to them. But I'll send you the picture when we're off.
I have seen I have seen the videos of Tom Cruise, especially at the swimming events, and I think maybe the gymnastics. So he's been there, and some fans have been taking pictures with him.
Yeah, there's
and
been a
then
lot of
Snoop
people.
Dogg, every night you see Snoop Dogg. He's on every night's broadcast.
I don't think we can get him on our ad, but he's quite a character, man.
Oh, he is.
God bless him.
Snoop.
It's a great career he's come up with.
D-O-double-G. Little gin and juice.
You gotta love it.
Two Guys and a Mic. Jim Ryan and Mark Rizzo, thank you so much for watching or looking in and subscribing. And please continue, share it with your friends. We'd love the more the merrier. And thanks for joining us for episode number 8. We didn't even know we'd get to number 2, but here we are at number 8.
And it's only going to get better. That's what we keep saying. It's only going to get so many tricks and things up our sleeves. It's pure entertainment, Jim.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
Take care.